Welcome to That Made Your List, what used to be a weekly podcast about an average ordinary person, which is me, interviewing other average ordinary people. I kind of fell off the boat a little bit with this. It's probably been 6 months. 6 months since I asked this guy over here to come on the show. And since then, everything just went to pot. I mean, the world's kind of ended and kicking itself around a little bit. I'm blaming COVID. There we go. I was locked down. No, it wasn't. I just fell off the boat. Anyway, it's back. That Made Your List is back. It's on an alternate weekly now on Feature Presentations channel. Bill Cariola's on 1 week. I'm on the other. And back on the first guest of, I'm calling it season 3. Season 3 of That Made Your List. The very first guest we've got coming in is Aaron J. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. We got here eventually.
Yeah.
So before we start going with this, a little bit about That Made Your List. It's 20 questions asked. It's the same 20 questions asked to various guests, ranging from favourite film, most overrated, and favourite films within certain genres. Aaron's been given that list 6 months ago. A couple of the options have changed. But Aaron, before we get started, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself?
So I originally kind of found Tony and the fan leagues, I should say more specifically, last year. I signed up for some trivia, lost some trivia, realized that I needed to find another way to get myself on screen more. So it was by talking about movies. So yeah, I'm much better at talking about movies than remembering all the specifics about them. And, so I came into this thinking I was going to be a trivia beast. Turns out I'm not. I don't know if I'm much better at talking about movies, but I get more opportunities to do that. Feature presentation. Shout out to the channel for allowing me not only some trivia, but I had my own show on here. If you do want to see, back in the day, it was a birthday stream that turned into over a day's worth of content called Now Showing. So very proud of those 3 hour plus streams. I love to talk about movies. So fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, that's good. As I say, you had your list of 20 questions. It was a little while ago, but I'm hoping this one's not changed too much. We'll start right at the top. The big question for everyone: what's your favorite film?
So favorite film for me, if you can't see my hat, it says A24. That's courtesy of Anthony. It was a Hanukkah gift, so thank you, Anthony. But A24. I love the production studio. Basically, they have a great wealth of. They have a great. Sorry for the. Sirens. I'm in Southeast Washington D.C. We're going to hear sirens throughout, so part of the quirk of the neighborhood. But A24. I just kind of love their taste in movies overall in general. So they've come out with a lot of my favorites, such as The Witch, such as Under the Silver Lake, Under the Skin. Just in general, it seems they allow their creators to make the films they want to make, and they kind of just leave them alone. In general, they just remind me more of like 70s movies, which are some of my favorite movies ever, where really there wasn't a limitation on like kind of blending genres, blending tropes, blending themes. And that gets to my favorite movie, which is The Lobster. So I'm not sure if you've seen this one, but if you have,
straight out the bat, no, this is not one I have heard of it.
Yeah,
but I've never seen it.
Perfect. So first thing about The Lobster that I always like to tell, or that I always kind of think of with it, is that it's definitely a movie that isn't for everybody. I don't really believe there is a movie for everybody, but this is not a movie that attempts to be for everybody, but I think it kind of does tell a universal story, kind of longing and fear of loneliness and a lot of other things. And for me, like I'm not like an overly lonely guy, but for me, a huge part of movies is when you see them and kind of the experiences you bring into them. And with The Lobster, I saw The Lobster the day after getting out of the worst relationship of my life, which I won't really go into all that because that's a whole other podcast. But I mean, it like I know everybody says they have that terrible ex. Well, this was my terrible ex that I got out of the relationship with.
Nice.
And so it's the day after getting out of a relationship with the person I thought I was going to marry and thought I was going to like spend my life with and things like that. So I'm like, love isn't real. Nothing's real. Like, it feels illegal to be me, though. It feels illegal to be single. Like, when you're newly single, it just feels like everybody knows you're single. Everybody's thinking about it. And, like, it's just like all these things. And so then I was back home, and my mom, I was back home from college at this point, or university, as you say. I was 20 years old. And my mom was like, let's go to a movie. My mom never goes to movies ever.
Right.
Like literally has seen probably 10 movies this decade. Maybe not in theaters total. I'm like, but she knows I like movies. So I was like, fine. We get to a theater and like, there's really nothing like available that I can see seeing with my mom. It's like John Wick 2, I think, and like just shit like that. And like some like not great Pixar movie at the time. I think it was like Cars 3, maybe. I don't know. But like whatever it was. Then there was this movie, The Lobster. I didn't really know much about it, honestly. And I'm a huge fan of going into movies, not knowing anything about them. I cover my ears and eyes for trailers. Like even if it's like 10 seconds in, I'm intrigued, I stop watching the trailer. I believe that the less you know about things, the better, which, so I didn't really know about this movie. And this movie is basically takes place in a near dystopian future, I guess you could say, or present. It's a black comedy, but it's like a true black comedy, like which I think at least Americans have a harder time with. I've watched a ton of great black comedies like Smithereens, other ones that I just absolutely love, but they're British for the most part. Yorgos Lanthimos, I believe, is Greek. This was like his first English language film. So there's a level of awkwardness that is baked kind of into Yorgos's characters in general, which rubs some people the wrong way. Other people love it. I really like to describe Yorgos's characters essentially as aliens playing humans. And so it is just like, there's something off about all, but it's just like, there's parts where, and this movie is basically about a newly single man who's forced to go to a hotel resort area where he has, I believe it's 48 days to find a mate, 48 days to find someone to be with. And or he turns into the animal of his choosing. So it stars Colin Farrell, Olivia Colman's in it. Let's see, Rachel Weisz plays the love interest. It's John C. Reilly. It's a fantastic cast.
Good cast then.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cast. I'm a huge fan of John C. Reilly's dramatic work. And I kind of has made me really resent Step Brothers. It's just like, and Talladega Nights. It's just like those movies really painted John C. Reilly as something he's not. And this movie is just another example. And it's just like throughout the movie, there's just like very, very like over exaggerated, which it's not supposed to be like this could happen this world. It's supposed to be over exaggerated. There's a very clear social commentary to it. And the second half of the movie turns it completely on its head. And it's really interesting as well. But it's just a lot about how people lie to, manufacture relationships and just like just different things like that. It's like there's one couple who, they end up together because the guy sees the girl gets nosebleeds. So he starts like smashing his head on the table when she's not like looking. So he'll start getting nosebleeds and be like, oh my God, let's get nosebleeds. And like, they're like, if there's problems, we'll assign you children. Like it's that over the bar. It's that like hits you. It's not trying to like cleverly slide it in, but it's also there's so much beneath the surface, so much between the lines. But there's so many opportunities for people to kind of hop off and be like, this movie's just trying too hard, too edgy, too this, too that. I left the movie the first time and I remember making this was back when I made Facebook statuses. So I was like, I saw the best movie I've ever seen today. It's called The Lobster. And it's always stuck with me. I've seen it tons of times. I acknowledge all of the flaws in it. I've had plenty of discussions with it where people have torn it to shreds. I've been like, valid. It's not a perfect movie. It is just my favorite movie.
It just caught you at the right film at the right time in your right circumstances as well. Everything sort of blended all at once for it. No, that's perfectly fine. So it's the sign of not sign of a good film, but sign of a good film when it's got flaws, but you can still enjoy it to such a high regard anyway.
Yeah, and I know that certain people are going to see it and hate it. Like right from the beginning and throughout, hate it. Why do they talk like this? Why is the colors like? Why? I get what it's saying. It's like it's just for me. I mean, it's just like every time I see it, still I'm like, I get a ton out of the movie. Yorgos Lanthimos, we'll talk about more later on here, but I just anytime I see his name, I'm going to see it and probably going to love it. I'm a complete Yorgos fan at this point. He can do no wrong. I've seen all of his work. We'll talk about it more because he is one of my favorite directors. But The Lobster, just it's one of those movies that for the most part, people who know me, once they see The Lobster, they can't help but think of me when they see The Lobster. And I'm very proud of that identification.
Yeah, fantastic.
So
that's good. That's good. A good start. A great start. I'm say it's not one that I have seen.
Yeah.
It's something the cast has got me really intrigued for. It's something that if I do ever see it popped up, at the very, very least I'll record it ready to watch another time if I don't watch it there and then. No, that's a good one. Okay, second question. We'll bring it right bang up to date. What's the last film that you watched?
So the last film that I watched, so actually I just watched it, so I know I sent you a film, but
no. This is what always changes.
Yeah, this is always changing for me because with my job, I don't start till about 11 a.m. and I run my own dog walking business. So I'm, really work just a short amount of time through the afternoon. So I wake up with my dog by 7 a.m. I go for a run with him. So by 8 a.m., I have about 3 hours every morning. I get to watch a movie every single morning. And I'm a huge fan of watching movies in the morning. I'm extremely sharp. I'm paying attention. Honestly, it's so much better watching it at night when you're dead tired and half passed out. So this morning, I ended up watching a very, very emotional, enriching film called Short Term 12.
Okay.
Not sure you're familiar with this one, but
nope. This is totally new. I mean, never even heard of it.
I'm going to pull up a little bit of information, but it stars Brie Larson. It also stars a very, very young Lakeith Stanfield. He goes by Keith Stanfield in this movie. So basically, Grace plays a counselor at a California care unit for risky teens. I am a social work major. That's what I graduated from college with. That's what I originally planned on pursuing as a profession, and I wanted to work with at-risk teens. So this movie particularly hit me.
Tick the boxes.
Quite strong, and it's just kind of about the counselors within this at-risk camp as well as the people within it. So I'm a huge fan in general of movies that focus on populations that don't get a focus on them usually, and I definitely think this is an example of that. It has it broaches a lot of different subjects, from abortion to sexual abuse to substance abuse, suicide, all within this movie, where at no point does it get very melancholy. So it's very, very genuine. It was directed and written by, I don't believe this guy has done any other work yet, Destin Daniel Cretton. So I don't believe he's done any other work that I know of. He did end up doing another movie this past year, actually, with Jamie Foxx called Just Mercy, which is a movie about a falsely accused murder.
I thought I've seen that. Is that
Jamie
Michael
Foxx,
B. Jordan?
Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx.
Yes, seen that. I was came on over here on our
This is by
Sky Movie.
This was the directorial debut by that guy. So
That was a
clearly,
great Just Mercy is a great film, such a
the most,
powerful film.
I think it's one of the more underrated movies of this past year. Honestly, I kind of people just took it for granted for whatever reason, but
Yeah.
Clearly this director has a passion for social justice.
Yes.
And it makes so much sense in this movie. There's just different points where the different social workers are having arguments about the treatment of a particular member who's at their camp, and it's just like he's like, what? She's like, why? She's like, you have a graduate degree, as she's just a bachelor in social work, but she's on. It's just like the bureaucracy. Just there's so many different layers to this movie. Short Term 12, I highly recommend it. It's really, really, really enriching watch, and I love a movie that can move me. And I had this recommended to me by a good friend, Sabrina, and she doesn't steer me wrong too often. So I gotta say, props to her on this one, and I highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime over here as well.
Okay. I've got Prime, so I'll have a look, see if it's crossed the pond. Brilliant. Okay, so two of the least mainstream films I think we've had so far on questions 1 and 2. Let's bring ourselves a little bit more mainstream. We'll go into a genre. What's your favorite action adventure film?
All right, my favorite. This was a really good question. Action adventure, I'd say, as I've gotten older, has not been my favorite, just because there's not as many good ones as when I was younger. And the one of the ones I picked, I could have picked about 10 or 20 from this year. I believe it was 1997. John Travolta, Nicolas Cage. If I have to say more, like, we're not friends. It's Face Off. Like, there's just, I love this movie. It's John Woo, for one. I can watch any John Woo action film. And this is, I believe, his American debut. So again, it's a foreign.
Was this before Hard Target then?
Oh no, Hard Target, which was in the running for my favorite. Hard Target was way before this. Hard Target.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
Hard Target was not my mistake, and Hard Target is definitely in the running for one of my favorite action movies of all time. I love the Cajun accent that John has in that movie. That movie used to legit scare me. The hunting sequences in Hard Target. When I was a kid, I would watch. It was so scary to me. Then I've gone back and watched it. Obviously, I can't believe any point in it really scared me. But that villain, it's still, both villains, honestly, are still really great in Hard Target. And I honestly kind of wish I put Hard Target now, because I think I like Hard Target as much or more than Face Off. They also use the Super Mario boots in Face Off, though, so that puts it over the top a little bit for me. Super Mario is my favorite video game movie of all time, which I know isn't on the list, but I'll add that answer. I non-ironically love the Super Mario movie, and I don't know anybody else who does. I think it's an absolute trip. It is so crazy. It's got some of the, like, the sets are nuts. But back to my answer for my favorite action adventure movie, Face Off. I mean, it's John Travolta acting like Nicolas Cage and Nicolas Cage acting like John Travolta.
It's prime Nick Cage as well, isn't it? He goes full bore into it.
And it's the comeback of John Travolta when, like, he was like a relevant action star through I knew him as an action star growing up. I didn't know him as Saturday Night Fever, as Grease, and all these.
I'm old enough to remember him as Grease. That's my introduction to
it. John Travolta is like Broken Arrow, it's just like all these great and so Face Off, I mean, there's so many shooting sequences where they don't need to reload until, like, it's the most inconvenient time. Like, they'll get fired. They have 72 to 125 magazine clips that they have to reload as they got them dead to rights every time. They miss. Their accuracy rate is like 5%, both of them. They always shoot everything but themselves. Like, I can eat a peach for hours. Like, I used to say that line. I used to say that as a 7-year-old, having no idea what I was saying. I was like, I could eat a peach for hours. My mom's like, do not say that ever again.
Do not say that.
I was like, what? I can eat. I'm like, I'm Castor Troy. There's just so many moments in this.
Yeah.
And it's just throughout it, it's so great. And I mean, yeah, I just love the movie. It's a movie I can still watch to this day. Have a great time with it. Um, Nowhere near a perfect movie, but who needs a perfect movie with like action sequences like that? The boat race, the doves, just the everything about it. But
Yeah.
I could answer so many for that, and they'd all be from the 90s, I'm pretty sure. And a few from the 80s. Give me some Predator, give me some Commando. But
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, I think Face Off is the one I've seen the most.
Yeah.
So
It could have been such a totally different film though if the production company wanted Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
oh, I know. I put together so many combinations, and Sloan and Schwarzenegger, it works so much better with what they got. It just,
Yeah.
I'm just, I mean, I believe this came out the same year as Con Air, also, which is another one of them
Yes.
that's way up there for me. But like, man, Nicolas Cage just killed it for me in the 90s. Snake Eyes, 8mm. There's just so many
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage action movies that I just adored.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say it's another one where it's the, as you say, the boots in the floating prison,
Yes, the Mario,
the magnetic
the
boots on
Mario.
there.
Those are literally the Super
Yes,
Mario props. Literally, they're like, "Can we use these?" They're like, "Yes, finally."
yeah, it's
It's
but
ridiculous.
yeah, the as you say, the way it's Nick Cage playing John Travolta, but the way that John Travolta brings it in and takes it up to this straight laced FBI agent, takes it up to the next level, and the Popper's got a brand new bag as he's bumming the smoke off his daughter who's not supposed to be smoking, and
Grabbing his daughter's ass. Like,
yeah,
there's weird moments for
oh
sure.
yeah,
Like, and I just love how their bone structures, their body types are nowhere near the same. Like, I just love it. Like, they
yes,
could have been like, wait, we need to get like John Malkovich and Nicolas Cage. We need like two skinny, bony dude. Like,
yeah,
we can have John Travolta, and it adds to the fucking cheesiness of the movie. Like, so like we just kind of shrink them down. Like, I guess.
yeah.
And when
We'll take some off the cheekbones. We'll take some off the chin.
Yeah, full spoilers here, but when they first get back to Castor Troy, when he doesn't have his face on and it's just like covered in ketchup, and he's just smoking a cigarette and clapping, like it's just like, what? And that scared me as a kid, that part. And now it's like an adult, I pause and I'm like, they literally just put ketchup on Nicolas Cage's face for that scene. It's amazing. But like all of it is just like, you know, there's some movies that you watch and you're like, man, this could happen one day, like Minority Report or something, basically. But then you watch something like this and you're just like, nope, this isn't going to happen one day.
Yeah, no, nothing like this. It's totally bizarre. It is so out there with it, but it's the plot and is just, but it's the perfect 90s action with it. It's
it's just like it's kind of like it adds like a little like Freaky Friday in there with like all these different scenarios where there's people like, you're acting different. Like the gangsters are like, you're acting like a cop. And then the cops are like, you're so much more fun now. And like the wife loves him more as Castor Troy. There's all weirdness there too. It's just like, man, like how bad. And then at the end, they just bring home a new kid to replace their kid who got shot in the movie. It's just like none of those parts are good at all. That's why it's my favorite action adventure movie, not my favorite dramatic performance. Like action. I'm not here for the
that good film. We agree on one. We agree. I mean, I thought you were going to go sort of Robert De Niro, Sean Bean, a little bit of south of France, a bit of Ronin, but no,
no Ronin today.
Okay, we'll stick with the genres though. We'll move on. We'll swap over to the horrors. What's your favorite horror film?
Oh man, this probably could have changed by now. But I'll stick with what I put on the list here because but there's a ton of particularly 70s horror films that I've seen recently that I've just like kind of fallen in love with, from Don't Look Now. So shout out again to British horror. I believe that's British horror, right? Donald Sutherland.
Yes.
I forgot who directed that, but I believe it's like one of the OGs. A British friend of mine suggested it to me. So, but Don't Look Now is an amazing film. I love the original Wicker Man. That's probably one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, we won't mention the Nick Cage remake.
No, I know. No, yeah. That is not a Nick Cage performance that I love. The original Wicker Man is absolutely amazing. I saw it for the first time this year. But Scream is what I chose. I chose the original Scream.
Yes.
This is one where, for me, it is not only what I say my favorite, I would say it's the best horror movie, like, to me, ever. I just think it's so perfect. It's so smart, and it's so well constructed by the master of horror himself, Wes Craven. It's the best final girl ever, Neve Campbell. The setup with Drew Barrymore at the beginning, she was on the posters. Like, that is just like something that wasn't. I get it. It was an homage to Psycho. I understand that completely. But that's the whole movie is an homage.
Yeah.
And yet it stands on its own at the same time. It's just like, it's so incredible. Like, because you can see it as a horror novice, as a horror expert, or anything in between, and get so much out of it. And it's like, every character in it, I think, is perfect. I mean, it's just like, I love Randy is all of us in the fan leagues. Like, I mean, it's just like, it is a perfect movie. Ghostface Killer was everybody for Halloween for my entire childhood. Like, it's just like it's so iconic. The twist with the two killers at the end, just like it is just, it's my favorite. It launched me into the genre as probably, I was about 10 years old maybe when I saw it for the first time. So then
making me feel old, man.
Then I went and saw like Psycho. I went and saw Halloween. I went and saw all the movies it talked about, and all the movies. Then revisited it, and then it had a whole nother layer to it. And it's just like, I love. I mean, I can still go back to it. It's one of the movies I've seen more than any movie ever. And it's in a genre I love with so many. There's just so many movies, but Scream is my favorite. It is just I love all four of them, but the first one to me is just like, it's like Toy Story, but for the horror genre. It's like there's before Scream and there's after Scream. Like,
definitely.
Like,
definitely. This is where, if my list and your list coincides, my favorite horror. I'm not a horror fan.
Exactly.
I don't enjoy being scared in a film. But that film, for me, I can watch again and again and again and again. As you say, the way Drew Barrymore, when you don't know anything about it, you see Drew Barrymore, you know Drew Barrymore, big actress. And then 5 minutes, gone, out of here. Forget about it. She's gone. And then it plays on the horror tropes, and so much so, and the nod and the wink to him are so there. He's there, Randy's there, telling you these are the rules. These are the horror movie rules. You're in a horror movie. This is what. Don't do this. Don't do that. I'll be right back. Oh no, you won't. Yeah, I love it. It's such a good film.
And there's so many movies that have tried to attempt what Scream did, and it's just. They fall on their face. They're just like so obvious with it, and not in a intentionally obvious way, if that makes any sense.
It was a shot in the arm to the horror genre again. It pretty much restarted, or maybe even ignited the team horror that I Know What You Did Last Summers and everything, and even brought up its own spoof genre, the scary movie ones. They're the best.
They're great.
When it starts a successful spoof movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really. I think it didn't just affect the horror genre too. I think it affected the entire movie industry. I really think in a lot more ways, with how meta it could be, with how self-aware it could be, while not being just like a airplane comedy spoof movie. Like it was just like. Yeah, it's just like, I mean, she's like, what kind of idiot runs upstairs? And then in the movie, she runs upstairs, and like you're understanding why she's doing it in the movie. It's just like, it's just so good, good.
They say the two killers at the end there. I mean, it's old enough we can because it's Billy Loomis one, and they're stabbing each other to get it. I said, oh no, we're not going to lie. You hit too deep. Oh my god, it's black blood. You gone too deep, man. And yeah, just
it's just like yeah, it's so great.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the sequels? So Scream 2, obviously, Scream 2 for me builds on it well enough.
Yeah, I like Scream 2 quite a bit. I am a Scream 3 apologist. I love Scream 3, actually, even though it is quite different from the other ones. I just think it was like a ton of fun. But I also
it's been a while since. Is 3 the one where they're on the set of the movie making the movie of 1?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
and like there's parts where like Sydney's in the house and it's not designed like her house because it's designed to be filmed like a movie. So like she's making turns like it's her house, and then she's like, wait, this is it. This is over. Like just like I mean, it's really, really funny and it's really clever. I mean, the killer's name is Roman to like kind of play on Roman Polanski. It's just like I mean, there's just like all sorts of like banana peel Easter eggs in that movie. And the fourth one was really good. It is my least favorite of the 4, though. I don't know. Like it was still really good though, and just because it was, it really does go for me 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it is a descending for me. But I know a lot of people. It's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 brings it back up a little bit. I know a lot of people really don't like 3. But I think 3 was the least safe of them and probably the most messy production. And that's why it came out the way it did a little bit. But I still like them. I still like all of them. I'll revisit any of them.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll drop over again. We'll jump to another. It's a genre. It's the broadest genre in there. What's your favorite drama?
Yeah, so this one
massive choice of films.
Yeah, this one like was so hard for me to think of. It was just like it would have been easier for me, honestly, to give my favorite like dramatic director. So I kind of went there with Paul Thomas Anderson, and then I was trying to decide between his movies. Honestly, my mood at this point in 2020 quarantine would switch it from There Will Be Blood to, I mean, I love There Will Be Blood. I really, really do. But honestly, Punch Drunk Love is where I'm at right now with my favorite drama, which I guess you could also describe this as a comedy. I don't really think it's that funny, though. I think it's much more dramatic and melancholy, just maybe because I recognize a lot of the characters' flaws. I am an Adam Sandler fan. I love his comedy. I love his drama even more. I just think he is a really great actor, and this is the role of his lifetime here. I just think he absolutely kills it. Paul Thomas Anderson's direction, the music, the color palette, the love story with what's her name? I forgot who he falls in love with in the movie, but the love story, just the familial relationships, the existential dread, the kind of feeling of like kind of longing for more in his own personal life. I just think this is a really, really great drama where you can laugh and cry in the same scenes, which I think great dramas are able to do. It maintains the same. It does maintain, I think, the same tone throughout, though. I don't think it kind of lets up off the dramatic and the sense of existentialism in here. I do think this is Paul Thomas Anderson's most existential film. I really love
going to be Adam Sandler's.
Yeah, definitely Adam Sandler's. I mean, Uncut Gems is up there too, but this I think is definitely this, I think, does beat it. And it's, I mean, I just often don't feel like Adam Sandler's acting in the scenes. I feel like he's just being who he truly wants to be, and it's like kind of hard to watch. And but I also just love it. It's a movie I have watched so many times, and I've revisited during this quarantine a few times as well. I really do like all Paul Thomas Anderson's work. He hasn't made anything that is a weak point to me. I love Phantom Thread. I love The Master. The Master is also one I'd put up there. There Will Be Blood for a lot of the same reasons. I love both those movies, but just Punch Drunk Love is so human and so like so just I feel like relatable for me and a lot of other people kind of in this world. So and I haven't seen any movie like it since.
No,
Honestly.
I have seen this one. It's a while ago that I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, it's a good. I'm not a big Adam Sandler fan. He is the kind of, especially his comedic roles, the few dramatic roles he's had, he does well with it. But I find it really difficult. It's kind of jarring seeing him in a dramatic role when he is such.
When he's so connected to
So connected to the comedy, almost as. I mean, Robin Williams did it so well. The jump from the comedic roles into the almost the creepy dramatic, the bad guy in a couple of films, the 1 hour photos and Insomnia.
1 hour photo, he had to bleach his hair blonde and
but he needed to do that so people would disassociate him from Good Morning Vietnam.
Adam Sandler walking like off the set of like looks like Happy Gilmore or something.
Yeah,
putting on the suit. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, and say it's a good film. It's not one that I'm going to rush back to rewatch again personally. But as you say, the best thing about these is it's not my choice. It's
such a hard question. Like when I thought of the drama.
Yeah, the drama genre is such a it's so broad. It encompasses so many other subgenres within it that it's almost an impossible question.
Yeah, it's like my favorite new drama. It's like would have been easier. All these different things. My favorite, but like regardless, like I stand by it. Punch Drunk Love. And I know several people. I think including Tony, who is a huge fan of this movie, so and at least got his approval. So that's
we'll get there. We've got it eventually. Okay, we'll make it. Well, it's just as broad a genre. We'll jump over though. But what's your favorite comedy?
Okay, comedy. Another one that was tough for me, but I had a pretty quick idea. It was narrowed down to about two. The first one has a sequel coming out in March, and that's Coming to America. I absolutely love Coming to America. Eddie Murphy in general, Beverly Hills Cop, and Coming to America are like my two favorite Eddie Murphy ever. Really love that movie. However, I have a special place in my heart for Friday. It is just like, to me, this is the best comedy of all time, and it's my favorite comedy. I love that there's no white people in this movie. Which is like, as a kid, I was always attracted. I saw this movie for the first time when I was 6 or 7 years old, which, way too soon. But I was immediately attracted to it because no one on screen looked familiar to me. No one on screen looked like me. No one on, and yet I was vibing with this movie. I loved the music. I thought, and as I got older and started to understand the story, I love the story. I think that Craig's dad, played by John Witherspoon, is the best father in movie history. And I grew up without a dad. So I really did surrogate John Witherspoon as a father figure growing up. I believe that like it was like important to defend yourself. It was important to have ethics. It was important, which are things this like silly character was shitting in the bathroom, spraying spray. In between it was saying some truly profound, like real shit about particularly as I got older and realized like inner city violence and affecting their own communities and ruining it with gun violence. And it's just like how it's like you can use defend yourself with your hand. Like things are just like, maybe it's gotten a little hokey over time and it's made, but I think this movie makes a lot of really great points. And on top of it all, like Smokey is the funniest character. I think, to me, ever played by Chris Tucker. That's why
Mhm.
I don't even bother with the sequels for Friday. Smokey's not in them. There are no
Yeah.
sequels for Friday.
Okay.
And yeah, Craig, how you get fired on your day off for stealing boxes. Like, I mean, there's just, it's a movie that maybe gets a little lost in translation over the pond. I don't know. But
Hmm.
over here for me, and I think people in America, it still holds up to this day.
Yeah.
Gary Gray's gone on to now direct Fast and the Furious movies and like shitty Men in Black International, and things
Oof.
like
Yeah.
that. But it all began here with Friday. Ice Cube was great. Nia Long, Debo, who just died. Tiny Lister, I believe is his name. He just died, but
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
one of the best villains in movie history. I mean, they have.
Mm.
I keep saying one of the best, but to me, this is the best comedy, and it's my favorite. I just
No,
love this
absolutely.
movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It's got it's got Tiny Lister who's in there. Who's Michael Clark Duncan, an uncredited role as well. He was
Yeah.
a really craps player
Yep.
in there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Tucker, as you say, he's smoking so good. Most of his lines are improvised.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in there, yeah, go do it. Just be the character. Just go with it, roll with it, and yeah, that's how you say it's not as big over here
Mm-hmm.
as it is in the States. But I, I don't. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's based in where it is and the characters types that they are. It doesn't translate to a British. It's not a traditionally British setup for it, is it? So it's but no, it's a good film. It's the one I've seen. Again, I'm old. It was a while ago since I've seen it, but I enjoyed it when I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's one that again when I think of favorites, I got to be able to revisit them, and this is
Hmm.
another one that
Hmm.
I probably revisit more than any.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's all good. That's all good. Give me a film that makes you happy.
oh my God. So if people are listening who are friends of mine or who are familiar with me, they've been waiting for this movie to come up. You don't have to wait anymore. Your Harold and Maude is here. Harold and Maude makes me happier than any movie on this planet. It also makes me cry a lot too. It's like is definitely a happy, sad movie. If you haven't seen Harold and Maude, I cannot recommend it enough. Hal Ashby made some of the most incredible movies through the 70s. If you just want to go watch a director at the height of his powers, watch
Hmm.
Hal Ashby in the 1970s, whether it's Last Detail, whether it's Coming Home, whether just anything he made, and Harold and Maude is not an exception. Starring Bud Cort and Ruth Gordon. Ruth Gordon, probably known mostly for Rosemary's Baby, her best supporting actress role in that. This
Yeah.
is quite a different role here as Maude, and this movie is just brimming with brimming with life. It's just full of life. It's full of energy. It's full of um, just just beautiful moments and beautiful music. If you're not a Cat Stevens fan, this will be a torture. This is essentially a Cat Stevens music video throughout it. But I've realized I'm quite a huge Cat Stevens fan.
Yeah, fair
Do
play.
not like the MCU at all. My favorite MCU movie, however, is Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because of Yondu scene at the end with Father and Son by Cat Stevens. I've never cried so hard in a Marvel movie in my life, and it's purely because Cat Stevens. Like
Hmm.
that father and son song was
Yeah.
unbelievable. And this movie is like in complete Cat Stevens catalog, and it's so great. And
Okay.
yeah. This movie is absolutely it's a great love story. It's a great life story. It's just and I actually saw it for the first time ever this year in February, which when I went
Okay.
back to my letterbox and saw that, I could not believe it.
Yeah.
I have seen this movie more than a dozen times during quarantine. I can go and watch it anytime someone wants to watch it. It's my favorite movie to suggest to people. It's my favorite movie to talk with people about afterwards.
Yeah.
I yeah, some people can call it hippy dippy nonsense, I guess. But you know what? I'm a giant stoner, and I also really believe that life is what you make it. And this movie is just, it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful movie. It makes me happy to talk about, makes me happy to watch. And there's tons of moments within the movie that are not happy. They're very, very sad.
Yeah.
But I believe happiness and sadness are next door neighbors for a reason.
Oh, very much so, very much so.
Yeah.
This is a film I've heard of. I've heard of it. I've never seen it. But yeah, it's one that I say lots of times I've heard people talking about it before. It may even have been you talking about it before on the times. Yeah. No, cool. It's a good one. It's as you say, they are two that are side by side. The best films that make you happy will have parts in there that at the same time you're so happy with the drop to be there so you can build back up again to it.
I really recommend this movie to everybody. Too. It's a movie about life, and it really, I mean, the way it ends, it's just the ending sequence that Hal Ashby shoots in this movie is really throws everything at you. So I just think I've suggested to everybody. I have suggested to everybody, and I'll keep suggesting it to everybody. Harold and Maude is a lifestyle. It's a great movie, though.
Okay, fantastic. Right, we're going to flip this on its head, turn it around then. Give me a film that makes you sad.
Yeah, so I have tons of these. I mean, Short Term 12 today, that made me sad. But, you know, and I really don't mind getting sad. I grew up listening to a lot of emo music, which is, you know, just sad boy music, if you're not familiar with the term. But, you know, it's like I've always been pretty comfortable with sadness. I was diagnosed with depression at a pretty young age, and I've gotten a handle on it throughout my life. But I'm also very comfortable getting into those spots too, and I recognize them pretty easily. For the saddest movie, I went with The Wrestler, starring Mickey Rourke.
Okay.
Danny Boyle directed. Have you seen this?
I have seen it. I love the film.
Are you surprised I picked this for my sad movie?
Yeah, I saw it on the list. I was like, I can kind of see. I can kind of see why it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll explain a little bit. This guy just, particularly it's the end of the movie that makes me very sad.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up working so hard throughout the movie to try to rehabilitate so many different relationships, create some relationships that were never there for him, like with Marissa Tomei and with Evan Rachel Wood. And he's just such a fuck up. And the only thing he can do at the end of the day is destroy himself, which is what he's doing in the final scene. And he kills himself. You were watching a suicide at the end there. The way the movie ends, it made me so sad because to me, there's no doubt he died right there. Yeah. And it's just like, and that was always how it was going to end. And it was just a certain amount of inevitability to the movie watching it back that makes it very, very sad. And just the ways he refuses to accept his fuck ups are just very, very sad to me. And it's, I mean, I was trying to, I don't know, like, to me, I'm a huge wrestling. I was a huge wrestling fan growing up. I watched the WWF, not when it became the WWE. So that's how far back I watched it. But,
likewise.
I mean,
likewise.
It's like these. I realized what I was watching was the story of a lot of my heroes that I'd forgotten about, and don't even think about where they're at and things like that. And when you do look into most of these stories about these wrestlers, it's really sad. So it feels like at points this movie wasn't even a movie; it was a documentary, just about. Choose your favorite wrestler, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, you know, all these different. Now, they didn't die exactly in the ring like that, but it's a movie. But you know, it's just like, I mean, as he's crying, sobbing, going up to the top ropes, and it's like, man, and you see the reaction of people who love him. They're like, they've just fully given up on him at this point. Even if he didn't die at that point, he's dead to everybody that mattered to him. And it's just like, I mean, when your obsession, I mean, maybe when your obsession can draw you to that dire straits, it's hard to watch.
Hmm.
And it's really sad. And it's like knowing Mickey Rourke's actual story just feels very biographical.
Yes.
Like, and it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, that it's if you grew up as a WWE or wrestling fan or WCW or whichever one it is you watched during the 90s,
Yep.
then watching this film, you can't help but be pulled back to those characters that are on screen that you grew up with. I mean, obviously Andy the Ram, so you automatically pulled into Macho Man, but the look of it is also, as you say, is also a warrior with the look. And you can't help but picture that. Yeah, this has got to be so close to the bone. I mean, Roddy Piper broke down in tears watching it because it actually hit the notes of what he went through.
Look at what happened to Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a very, very sad movie, and and I can only imagine these people like Terry Funk watching this movie.
Yeah,
and it's just like Terry Funk. It's like, when's the last time you thought about Terry Funk? It's like, damn. Like, you know, it's like we think about maybe Jake the Snake because he had a documentary made and he's been a little more in the forefront. But it's like, there's some of these guys that you just don't ever. Darren Drozdov, all these guys. Like, I mean, it's just like
there's so many of them from that age though that didn't get to be the age that Terry Funk is now. There's so many from the 90s there that died in the early 40s, and
Brutus the Beefcake, just so many. And it's just like, and it's like you can also with this movie take it and not call it The Wrestler and have almost the same story and just whatever it's like you want to make it about. But with it having these like close personal connections to my life and a nostalgia, but in a very sad way. It's like, I would say this is definitely up there. It's like there's tons of Holocaust movies you can choose. You know, they're definitely very sad, like and things like that. But I think I stand by this. Pretty proud.
No, that's it. Say, it's. The film itself, when you look into it and you watch it, yes, it's a very sad film. The surprising part was the part that you picked it, not the fact that you chose to film it to be sad. Okay, we're going to bring the mood up a little bit after going through there. One that I love this film myself. Give me a film that you know practically the entire script of.
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up earlier in my favorite comedies. Coming to America. The royal penis is clean, Your Highness, because I know this entire movie front to back. I've just watched it so many times. It's just, I was Joan of Arc in a former life. It's just like the whole barbershop scene with Cassius Clay. Mama called him Cassius. I'm going to call him Cassius. Like, you ain't never meet no Martin Luther King before. Cuba Gooding Jr. is getting his hair cut. Like, it's just, I mean, sexual chocolate. Like, know, it's just like, it's just there's so many different. It's just the Soul Glow song, everything. McDowell's 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions. Our buns don't have sesame seeds. You know, the Golden Arches.
They've got the Big Mac. We've got the Big Mick.
Yeah, they got the Big Mac. We got the Big Mick. It's got a Samuel L. Jackson cameo of him saying, "Who the fuck is this asshole?" Like it's like it's got everything you need. Like it is just. I'm very very worried about the sequel because I just don't think there's any way it can be anywhere close. And so I'm gonna be the old guy being like, it's nothing like the original. Like, you know, so
it might surprise you. It might surprise you.
It's I mean, in order for it to like live up to my expectations, to be one of the greatest comedies ever. So that's not fair. Like, you know, like I mean,
it's never gonna be that.
It'll be a good movie. But there's just I mean, I honestly could have picked a few different Eddie Murphy movies. Beverly Hills Cop 3 is another one. I know front to back. 3. Yes, okay. 3. Wonder World. I know. I grew up on 3. As a kid, I watched 3 before I watched the first 2. So it's like, I think, frankly, as a kid, watching a movie based in like a theme park with like some more kind of ridiculous action scenes was a better way to get into that than the social commentary of 1 and 2. Anyways, well, 2 is just like a straight action movie. But like you know, Beverly Hills Cop 1 has a lot of really smart social commentary to it with like the white hoodlum coming to the black friend who like has his shit together and is with the police, and he's like, "Yo, like you need like that in the '80s is like revelatory." But like, and I think a lot of shit in Coming to America is also with how we treat immigrants and how we treat people who are different from us. Also baked into this comedy by John Landis.
Yes.
But yeah, I love Coming to America. She's Your Queen to Be, that song. I can sing that. I won't do, I'll spare, I'll spare you here. Can't hit the note right now, but I love that guy. I think he's hilarious. He doesn't have enough lines in the movie, but John Amos, just all of it. It's great. It's just so many lines.
The only thing the one thing that makes sense, the first time that Eddie Murphy played multiple characters in one of his films.
And I mean, he plays an old Jewish man.
Yeah.
Like, so well. As a Jew, I can say, like, dude, bravo. Like, Eddie's part of the crowd. Eddie is part of the, like, it's, I mean, and Arsenio's in that scene also. Arsenio's great. It's his character. I mean, it's just, the barbershop. If that movie was made today, the barbershop would have gotten their own Netflix series.
Oh God, yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's just, they would have signed Eddie Murphy and like do a Nutty Professor spinoff, do this, that. Like, this movie would have been completely ruined if it was made in 2000, which is, so I'm curious to see, coming back.
I mean, I'm just looking the plot for it. Akeem learns he has a long lost son in the States and must return to America to meet the unlikely heir to the throne of Zamunda.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, how have these comedy sequels we've waited 10 years or longer too long for turned out? Dumb and Dumber, terrible. Zoolander, terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's there's a magic and a time and a place to comedies that when you try to transpond it over 30 years, like, it's going to be tough. So like,
especially
I'm not ashamed, but I'm going to be watching it like this until it uncrosses my arms.
Yeah,
which isn't fair for the movie, but they're asking for it by Coming to America 2. So
that's true.
I'm expecting up to Coming to America 1, and if it's not that, I'm going to let people know. But I love Coming to America.
Okay, fantastic. No, great film. A great film. Okay, we'll move over. This is one where I get a feeling you're going to give me an education into a filmmaker that I have probably never heard of until you utter the words in front of me. But what is your is your favorite director?
Yes, my favorite director. I believe I have two favorite directors. So I'm going to educate you on both of these directors.
Please
starting with Mr. Yorgos Lanthimos.
He's
Greek. And he's my introduction to him, like I said, was The Lobster. But I have since gone back and watched his entire filmography, and I love all of it. Starting with Dogtooth, absolutely incredible movie. It's basically about a father who is completely controlling of his 3 adult children, and basically keeps them prisoner in his own house, in his own yard, by lying to them, by, saying, it is a completely bizarre movie that kind of is symbolic of the police state of government and, of citizens trusting things without looking into them themselves. And so, again, with a lot of Yorgos's work, there's a very obvious social commentary to it that underneath it has an extreme amount of cleverness to it. And Dogtooth is one of them. It has some extremely uncomfortable scenes dealing with sexuality and with violence at different points. But yeah, it's just really, really great. It's in Greek, so you're going to be reading some subtitles, but I love watching foreign language films. It takes me to another place. You have to be completely immersed in it. You have no choice but to be. Otherwise, you don't know what the fuck you're watching. So, it's like, as someone with ADHD, it does force me to really channel my ADHD in a way that doesn't get channeled usually. So I for the most part, really do prefer foreign language film to English at this point in my life. It's kind of crazy. But Yorgos, to me, Dogtooth, The Lobster, Killing of the Sacred Deer, another one that it's based on a Greek mythological story, but it's put into kind of current times, but has the same weird stilted dialogue where it feels like all the characters are aliens who are trying to play humans, and has Colin Farrell in it again. So this is the second time Colin Farrell got to work with Yorgos, and I think he just really got Yorgos even more in this movie. And he's like, I get what you're going for. It has Barry Keoghan, who's been in Dunkirk, been in Chernobyl, been in a bunch of things. You've definitely seen him in movies before. He's an incredible villain in this movie. Nicole Kidman. But again, Yorgos just completely goes for it in this movie and does not, there's Sonny Suljic, who plays one of the kids. He was in mid-90s in a bunch of other really great movies. But, I mean, he treats the kids, puts the kids into really adult scenarios. So, but not in a way like exploiting them, but they're treated as just equal characters in the movie. And so, and then leading into The Favorite, which ended up being his most commercial movie so far. He ended up working with a different screenwriter for that movie. So it was really interesting to see in this movie, they're not all talking like aliens who are pretending to be humans. So a lot of people massively preferred The Favorite. I really did like The Favorite, and he just has like points where like he's using like fisheye lenses, different camera angles, and you're just like, why is he doing this? And I just love it. Like he's just always experimenting, always trying. He's writing these movies as he's on the set. Huge amount of improvisation to the movies, and it's just he's so weird. When you're watching Yorgos Lanthimos movie.
Yes,
and
this is one. So I'm just flicking through this. I've kind of been in the room with my wife watching The Favorite before, zoning in and out of it. It's the plot. I'm not a massive, despite being a Brit, I'm not a whole royalty film fan of them. So, but it's been in the background of it. It's really, especially when you said the fisheye lens, it reminded me. I thought
I'd say as someone who's also not a fan of period pieces, The Favorite completely throws it on its head. With its love triangle, with kind of his examination. In a way, it's like the Scream of period pieces. If I had to like kind of pitch it to you, like, so it's like it really is quite self-aware. There's like scenes where like there's like ducks racing. It's just like completely ridiculous, like rich people shit. It's like you can tell Yorgos just is like completely lampooning this kind of this whole film, but while making one of the best ones ever, ironically. So it's similar to like Scream with the horror examination here with Favorite. So Olivia Colman, again, a revelation in the movie. Revelation. And the second time her working with Yorgos. So you'll see a lot of very, very good actors who want to work with Yorgos multiple times. And there's a reason. There's just no one like Yorgos. And so I love how different he is.
Fantastic. What's your other one then?
My other one is a director who I've gotten to discover this year with the quarantine. I've watched all of his movies at this point, and 3 or 4 of them are probably some of my favorite of all time. When I type this name, a lot of people don't know who this is. They'll be like Wong Kar-wai. It's Wong Kar-wai, and he is a director like no other director. He has just his own style to him that he's a Hong Kong film director. He was at the height of the Hong Kong kind of new wave film period that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s that ushered in a lot of really great dramatic work throughout the whole world that's been influential in British filmmaking and American filmmaking. And he just has a way of telling non-linear stories that are just so atmospheric. They will shift from romance to love to action all within one scene. He just will try anything with his movies. In the Mood for Love is one of the best examinations of a relationship and dissolving you're ever going to see. It's absolutely beautiful. Chungking Express and Fallen Angels. There's just these movies that not a lot of people know. Some people do, but they're just not known by the masses as much as they
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Chunking Express, for example, is Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie of all time. And it is a romantic, beautiful action movie. Just he writes all of his movies on set as he's going.
Right.
So there's a level of organicness to his movies that are just like no other. I'm everything that Juan Carlo makes, I've loved. And he's just, when you see his movies, it's almost like, how did I ever know these movies didn't exist? That he's that kind of filmmaker.
Yeah.
For me. And there's just no one who portrays longingness, loving, just these crazy themes that are so hard to really, really get across, like Juan Carlo. And when you come across Juan Carlo fans, it's just like, they all kind of have the same. You if you know him, you love him. So
as I say, I had heard of Chungking Express, but I think I'd only heard of it in the conversation with Tarantino.
Yeah,
I can only presume that's the only time I've ever heard of it.
He brings it up a lot. I mean, it is the origin of the Manny Pixie Dream Girl is from Chungking Express. Faye is the original Manny Pixie Dream Girl, who has been in so many movies at this point. That character, the Manny, that alone is his contribution to film can be measured with that alone. But I mean, it's got some of the best music in it. In his movies, he is unlike any other. I love him.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, we made it halfway through. We got to 10. 10 done, 10 down.
That wasn't too long. That was only an hour.
Hey, 1 hour, 6 minutes. That's all good. That's all good. Okay, what we'll do, we'll call it a day there. Yep. We will bring you back for a second episode to the second half of your list. If you like what you hear, if you want to be on the show, it won't be 6 months between an invite and getting you recorded. I promise this is going to be damn sight more reliable.
Yeah, I can think of a ton of people who would be great for this show. So
it's
to send some people your way.
No, absolutely. There's a Facebook page, the Twitter feed. I've even got an Instagram feed, which is perfect for an audio podcast. There's an Instagram feed. It's just what you need. Exactly. Just search everything that made your list. Okay, Aaron, tell people where they can find you if they want them to find you. If not, then
I mean, I would be happy for them to find me. So Aaron Jay Brooks on Twitter. Is where you can find me occasionally trying to tweet. I'm not really good at it, but occasionally I'll do it, and then I'll forget about Twitter for like months. I do several podcasts though, so I'll always be retweeting those out through my Twitter. I just finished up a Fargo podcast on Fargo season 4 on FX over here. If you just search Digesting Fargo. If you're a fan of the Netflix series Dark, or if you're looking for a great series to get into,
I've started watching that. Actually, I started watching that. That's a really good series.
It is wild. It is endlessly rewatchable. It's my favorite television series of all time. Me and my brother went through all 30 of the episodes of that show. It's called Digesting Dark. So if you do need kind of a companion piece to work through some theories and everything, we don't spoil through the first 2 seasons, and then we go through episode of season 3 also. But those are all over on wherever your podcast needs are. If you're a MMA UFC fan, big things are happening over on my UFC channel or MMA channel with Fight Bananas. So if you're not subscribed to Fight Bananas on YouTube, if you could, please, that would be great. But either way, we're going to be doing some work, hopefully with some hires up over at the UFC in the upcoming year. So this first year with the podcast has been very successful. So I do appreciate people who've listened and everything. We've had some great interviews with some great fighters, and big things are happening. So Fight Bananas on YouTube. Check us out over there. That's
Superb. It. Fantastic. Okay. We'll get you back, get the second half of your list recorded, and see where we go from there. Okay, that's been This Is Your List. I've been Dave, he's been Aaron, and we'll see you on the next show.